right, welcome back to the Retro Game Club podcast for episode 21. And with me, as always, is Hugh, someone that's also old enough to drink.
Yeah, more than twice over, which was very depressing when I hit that milestone. I did attempt to have a second 21st birthday party, but I did not have the energy for it.
Yeah, I can't drink like I used to.
Yeah, I decided just to go to bed early instead.
Now, do you drink when you game, or are you more of a, I want to be as good as possible, so I'm going to play sober?
Usually the problem is my gaming time is almost exclusively after my kids are in bed. So you kind of don't have a choice. Right? Like, gaming time and drinking time happen to be in the same window of time for me. So
Okay, yeah.
I could just get drunk in front of my kids, but that's I'm
not the best example. For me, I usually don't, simply because if I'm not good at a game, I'll be mad at myself for drinking and then like, I would have beat that if I didn't have this beer, you know?
Yeah. So I have taken that into account. I don't really I don't drink to the point of getting drunk or anything, but like once or twice maybe I played an RPG up a little too late and maybe had one too many drinks, and then the next morning or the next day I go to start the game again and I'm like, wait, why am I in this town?
yeah Now we have the luxury of you could go back and remind yourself of what mission you're on and what you're supposed to be doing. But yeah, back in retro games, it's just wherever you left off, you have to remember where you stopped.
Yeah. And if you don't play a game for like a week, you have that same problem. I was doing another playthrough. I've like Final Fantasy 5 and 6 on my phone, and I started Final Fantasy 5 again because it's a really great game. And I got to about the halfway point when the game kind of gets like open-ish at that point, like it becomes sort of an open world game. And then I didn't play it for a few months because stuff got busy and I wasn't on my phone ever. And then I went to pick it up a week or two ago, and I'm just lost. I'm gonna have to go look up a FAQ or something and try and figure out how to get this back together, because I have no idea what I'm supposed to do next or what I've already done.
Yep, it's happened to us all. If it hasn't happened to you, you're not retro gaming, you know.
Yeah.
But what else have you been up to?
Oh, I got a whole list of like random things I've noticed. So I'm doing like one of my annual sweeps of like trying to clean out duplicate stuff, and then other things that are just I just don't want. Nothing really great. Like I have this big stack. I have a stack of like Macintosh public domain CD archives, right? like games, clip art. Like I don't have a Mac. I literally like put it in my computer, and my computer's like, I don't recognize that disk format. Like so I'm boxing some stuff up, and I'm gonna create like I don't want to do a retro junk box because I'm too lazy. But if someone wants a box of retro junk, email us at email@retrogameclub.net.
Yes.
And I'm always happy to send someone a flat rate shipping box in exchange for the price of shipping the box. I'm not actually. I could just eBay it, be like, here's a box of junk, $15, and maybe someone will buy it. But if
somehow that'll end up in it just anything on eBay always ends up bad. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I have like a big stack of like 5 1/4 inch games, and those aren't. I literally don't have anything I can play them on, and I'm sure the discs don't work anyways, right? So I was eBaying a couple of those, and like one of them sold, and what I noticed, I sold it for like $20. And what I noticed is the guy who bought it, I just clicked on his profile, he's selling a copy of that same game for $200. So, right, and it's been listed for 5 years or something insane. Like, he's been trying to sell a copy of that game for $200 for years. So, when he sees another copy go up, well, he can't let it be known that game is worth nothing. Right?
That is so strange.
Like, he was the only person who bid on it. That's how not $200 this game is worth. So, yeah, so we just got to, like, get him off the, get him off the market so other people don't, I guess don't undercut him. So, whatever. He's probably sitting on like 400 copies of this game now, because every time someone puts one up, he's convinced that they're worth $200.
So what other kind of stuff is in this
I'm gonna
this
probably
box?
end up with a couple like duplicate, not a lot, but I have a few duplicate Intellivision and 2600 boxed games, and probably a couple loose games that are duplicates, and then I don't know what else. I haven't really filled it yet.
Cool.
Right now, it has a lot of Mac samplers. Oh, and half of Command and Conquer for Sega Saturn.
Oh.
Command and Conquer's a 2-disc game. I was
Yeah.
at a Goodwill once, and they had a huge stack of Saturn games for like $1 or $2 a piece. So I bought the stack and didn't realize that Command and Conquer did not have both discs. Also, I don't like Command and Conquer, so...
Were you halfway through it when you realized that?
No, I opened it and realized. I wish that would have been funny. I think it's actually... it might be the second disc that's in there. So that'll
That
be
could
in
help
there.
someone if they have a really scratched up disc or something, you know?
Yeah, if you need half of Command and Conquer. So yeah, we'll see. I haven't really. I'm probably gonna finish pulling stuff off the shelves this week, and that's it. I had a controversial thought. Like, it was Labor Day this weekend. I don't know when you're not listening to it over Labor Day, I assume. And one station was doing like Star Wars marathon all over Labor Day. And I caught like the end of Phantom Menace, and it got me thinking that I think of all the Star Wars movies, Phantom Menace has like the best games, or at least my favorite games, were inspired by Phantom Menace versus the other 90 or so movies that they have now.
Yeah, I think either you and I have talked about this, or I've written in and on your old podcast about it, where Pod Racer
Yeah.
is one of the best things to come from that movie, and one of the best games. And is it Battlefield, the one where it's like a strategy type game from Phantom Menace?
It's like a Battlefield, and then I was also thinking of like in the Rebel Assault or Rogue Leader games, or Rogue Squadron, whatever the name always confuse me. The levels based on Phantom Menace are all really excellent too. So
You know what? I've only played the first one of those. It's why I want to reset up a Wii and or GameCube, so I can actually plow through those, because I heard the rest are great.
Yeah, they're great. Yeah, and then I'm not gonna put this in the news, but I saw an article just today about I don't know why I'm so like fascinated with Doom on Nintendo Switch, but it was an article saying classic Doom and Doom 2 ports to receive performance improvements in future patch. So apparently they have performance issues on Doom 1 and 2 on the Nintendo Switch. So I looked it up. The original Doom requires a 486 with 66 megahertz and 8 meg of RAM. The Nintendo Switch has 2 quad-core 1 gigahertz CPUs and 4 gig of RAM that has read-write speeds of 0.4 gig a second.
Wow. So...
And they're like, yeah, Doom's a little laggy on that. Like...
And also, it's not even that. It's people have been porting Doom since it came out. Like, this isn't a new thing someone's trying.
Yeah. So it just blows my mind that you could somehow take a game that's over 25 years old, and hardware multiplies in speed every couple of years, and still be able to mess it up.
Yeah, that is kind of... Oh, wow, yeah.
So, whatever. That's all I got. What have you been up to?
So, yeah, I texted you once or twice about this. I know on this show we both talked about how we're offline gamers, but I was on my Switch and I saw Tetris 99 was a free download, and I was like, why not? I love Tetris, And then I immediately saw that there's an offline version. It's like a $9 upgrade to it, so I thought, why not again? So I played one bout or whatever of the offline version where you play against 99 bots. And I thought, this is, I enjoyed that. I played it again, and I had that thought that, oh no, this is my new game. Oh no, I love this. Then I tried it online, and you don't talk to people, you don't see people. It's exactly the same as the offline version, except a little harder, because humans are more difficult than the bots. And so this is my new game. I actually can't recommend it enough. It's a great, new take on Tetris. And just like in Nintendo's style, it's if you ask me, it's perfectly done. You know, there are so many versions of Tetris before Nintendo that weren't superb until, you know, Nintendo came around and kind of perfected it, and it's kind of like they did it again. I'm really surprised that I actually like it. So I know you pre-ordered a Switch Lite, so you know it's free. You could download it, play it once. If you don't like it, you could delete it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'll like it. I don't. Everything I've seen about the game tells me it's something I will I would like.
Yeah, there's so much strategy, and I've been watching videos on it, and yada yada yada. But and also yeah, I have one of the first releases of the Switch, which is one that you can install Android on. So I thought it'd be cool to install Android on. You install on the SD card, where like then if you click on it, it like boots into it. It's not like you're rooting your Switch or anything, you know. While it's not running, you know, the Switch doesn't know, is none the wiser. So I was thinking about trying to do that. I got, you know, a $99 dongle that helps you put the Switch into recovery mode to install this application. Because then I figure I could put all my old, you know, ROMs that aren't available to buy anywhere, you know, like old arcade ROMs on this, and just have one system to rule them all. And I also tried X-Wing Alliance Upgrade. I have it on Steam, so I tried playing around with the upgraded mod where you have new good-looking assets. I'll talk about that in another episode. I'm sure it'll be a topic of the episode sometime. But I'm still kind of working through that, and yeah, just some housekeeping stuff. I'm still holding back on some of my favorite games I want to use for Game Club, you know, until we get, you know, maybe like 200 more listeners. So, you know, please, guys, you know, every 5-star review really helps us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts from. So please, we kind of plateaued there on listenership. But yeah, that's all I've been up to. You feel like diving into news?
Yeah.
Yeah, RetroArch 1.7.8 was released. Now, this happened, I think, the day we recorded our last episode, so it's kind of old news now. But the biggest update is the AI service. So you can, it's called optical character recognition. So there's a mode where you can link up to some AI service that if there's Japanese in a game, Japanese text specifically, it will translate it for you. And there's 2 modes, either speech or image. So speech will speak it out to you, and image will display it in a little text box.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. And combining that with the Disk project, right? Like right now, they haven't announced PC Engine CD for the Disk project yet. I'm sure it's coming, of course. But to me, that's a huge deal because there are so many like Japanese RPGs that were released right on the PC Engine that didn't come out to America. Sega CD is on their list right now. There's not a lot. I mean, I think there might have been a Cosmic Fantasy game that made it to Japan that didn't come out in America, but it's nothing like the backlog on the PC Engine, really. So,
and they're also cheap too because they're in Japanese. You know,
right, and they're cheap because they're in Japanese. So, I mean, I've got to just within, you know. Like, one of the ones, I'm borderline, like, I would almost hack this game. Like, a lot of Falcom stuff, like Legend of Heroes 2, which never got an official U.S. translation, would be kind of a cool one. So, yeah, that's pretty neat. I mean, obviously, the auto translations are going to be kind of goofy, right? I mean, it's going to look like Google Translate, and it'll be bad.
But it's good enough, right?
Yeah, it'll be enough that you'll understand it, I'm sure. But it's not going to be, like, awesome translations.
Yeah, but still, and also they make a point to say this is not interfering with the game. It's like a separate thread, separate process that runs. So what I'm guessing is it opens up a second thread that now you map a button to do this. So you probably press the button. It probably takes a quick JPEG of your screen, sends it to this AI service, and it sends back what it finds. You know. But yeah, and then it goes on to say on the Disk project that you mentioned, Genesis, PlayStation, Saturn, and oh wait, it is PC Engine. Isn't PCE fast? Isn't that PC Engine?
Was it on there? Because when we talked to them, when we did the interview, PC Engine was not on there yet. But yeah, now it is on this list. So it was not when we talked. When we talked, I believe it was not on the list yet.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then the 4DO, which I'm guessing is a 3DO emulator.
Oh, okay. Well, now I'm pretty.
Yeah, you gotta try that out for us.
Yeah. See, I may have a project for later this week to see if I can get Dragon Legend of Heroes. Yeah, it's confusing. Legend of Heroes 2, Dragon Slayer 6, or whatever. It's some crazy numbering system. The Falcom likes to confuse their fans.
Let's see what the other news in this is. RetroArch for Android is now 64/32-bit, so I guess a combined mode, if I'm reading this right.
Mm-hmm.
And then another cool thing for Android and iOS, multi-touch light gun controls, so you could play like a Duck Hunt and not worry about just having one finger on the screen at one time. And that works for pretty much every system, so that's pretty cool.
Yes, you could do two-player Duck Hunt. Is that what it means?
Oh, yeah, I guess that's what it would be. Huh.
Not to cheat at Duck Hunt, like you're playing with two guns.
So that's a huge update. I don't think upgrading in RetroArch is that straightforward, so I don't know how soon. I'm at 1.77 now, I think, so we'll see when I actually update this. But yeah, that's what I'm probably going to guess is our biggest news of the week there. But more RetroArch Lib Retro news. The Amiga emulator, PUAE, and the Commodore 64 emulator, Vice, both got huge updates. Fixing two-player modes, mouse speed. What was this other one I was looking for? A lot of new core options, meaning just how like the CPU emulation works. Like there's a cycle for cycle perfect emulation mode. And I didn't really look into the Commodore 64 one just because the list is so long. I haven't really emulated either of these, have you?
No. I probably way back when I first heard of Amiga emulators, I tried it, and as much as I enjoyed the Amiga, it seems like Amiga emulation should be something I'd be into, just because it's similar-ish hardware to the Genesis and a computer I owned, and I thought it was a pretty good gaming computer, and of course a great like music and multimedia machine in general. Mm-hmm. But no, just haven't gotten into the Amiga emulation yet.
Well, we have so many games to emulate on just consoles alone, I think. It's being in the US and it wasn't as big here that, yeah. We'll get around to it eventually. What do we got next here?
Making a Nintendo 64 Bluetooth controller.
Yeah, so this is, the short of this is, and it's our, we have to have at least like 2 Hackaday links on here every week. This is one. You can now, I don't know how easy it is, but put in 8-bit DOE Bluetooth controller innards inside of a Nintendo 64 controller. So in a way that it uses the original Nintendo 64 buttons and analog stick, but the insides of the 8-bit DOE. The rest of it is from 8-bit DOE.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't trust myself to ruin either of these things. You need maybe if I had a broken N64 controller.
Yeah, but then how would you use it if it's broken? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could... Look, I would just buy an extension cord. That's the way I solve a lot of these problems.
Yeah. Exactly.
I mean, this is like the difference between developing like a pen that works in zero gravity versus giving astronauts pencils, right? That's the way I view this.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I need to do that project. Or you could buy one of those controllers that never worked for you, the Brawler 64.
Yeah, I got rid of that on eBay too, by the way. Someone actually bought that. I explained how it was bad, and
they didn't care.
I actually had I had a box of broken controllers too, and I put that on eBay, and I was surprised someone gave me like $20 for a box of broken controllers.
Hey, yeah. One man's
No.
trash is another man's treasure.
It's yeah, it's something.
More in Nintendo 64 controller news. There is a video here on IGN that we're linking to. It's every Nintendo 64 controller ever. And this is from Gamescom 2019, which Gamescom is a huge convention, I think in Germany somewhere. There's some cool stuff in here that I've never seen before. Like there's an E3 only one that was given away many years ago. That looks kind of platinum.
They got some of the. They got some. I was wondering if they would have all the third-party ones too, because there's so many bizarre third-party.
Yeah, near the end they
controllers, and
go
there's a
down
couple,
to
yeah.
some. Yeah.
It's definitely every first-party controller. I don't really see a lot of like crazy third-party controllers in there. I got some really wacky stuff I picked up over the years.
Yeah, it must be like every first party plus like some of the wackiest third party stuff. Yeah, and I used to have a few of these, before they were really rare. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a lot of the transparent stuff, but sold it away with my first Nintendo 64. So, oops.
Yeah, I'm gonna look back at. I'm going to go to one of my various catalog scans here and see. Yeah, there's some wacky Nintendo 64 controllers, definitely not pictured, but let's just say it's a lot of Nintendo 64 controllers there.
Yeah, yeah, and a really nice display. So if you're listening to this podcast and you go to our show notes and click on this link, check out this video. It's really impressive. A lot of them also are like new in box too.
Yeah, I don't see like the SharkPad Pro 64 or the Mako Pad, which is sort of laid out like that Retro Brawlers controller, that really junky one that I would not recommend anyone ever purchase from that company again. Is that here? Yeah, there's a wait, no, the glove controller was for PlayStation. There's like this crazy sort of power glovey thing for PlayStation.
I remember that.
And then a controller, I should go look for that. It was called the ASCII Grip, and it's a one-handed PlayStation controller. It's a crazy. I want to find one of these, so I probably should look on eBay for that. All right. Before we get on too big of a tangent, what's next?
Oh, I see. There's one on Amazon.
Of what?
The ASCII Grip. It's $14.
Is it new?
I can't tell here. Let's see. New. $14. Another one new for $7.
Oh, well. That can't be new. All right. I will, oh, yeah, well, that's an image that I believe, yeah, okay, that's definitely an image of the box that was possibly taken from my website. Yeah, okay.
That's funny. But this is a very interesting looking controller too. I don't think I actually saw this.
Yeah, it was not around very long. They marketed it as like a RPG controller. I guess I don't know what you're doing with your other hand while you're playing an RPG.
Yeah, maybe this is for smokers or something. Like
yeah, or again, or if you're drinking, or I understand. Like I saw like a long time ago, I saw a Ben Heck presentation where he was talking about developing like a one-handed Xbox controller, but it was for like a military veteran that contacted him.
Huh.
Maybe they lost an arm or had been severely injured. Like, I get that. Like, if I wanted to play, Final Fantasy VIII and you're missing an arm or something or whatever, like, great, this is an awesome controller. I don't know how it works for everybody else.
Yeah.
That's all right. I think I will buy one of these anyways, just because.
Yeah, you can report back to us when it comes in the mail.
Yeah, a bunch of them on eBay claiming that they're new too, and I see some reviews of them online too. They seem all right. Anyhow, before the show goes on too long, Dreamcast emulator Flycast. What's that called?
Yeah,
Flycast.
It's a fork of Rycast.
Oh, okay.
And so yeah, it's again libretro or non-libretro emulator for Dreamcast, and the big update that just came out was that you don't need a Dreamcast BIOS for it. I don't know if they reverse engineered it or what, but you no longer need to find your own BIOS, which is pretty handy.
It is. Did they reverse engineer it, or is it
That's what I can't tell.
like
They just don't
bootleg?
say.
Like, basically, are you downloading something that is technically illegal, or is this?
Well, I think these, people working on this stuff try to make it as legal as possible. So I'm assuming they reverse engineered it. The other big update is they are working on, they're doing quotes here, so I'm doing air quotes, real CD-ROM support, which I think they mean your CD-ROM, so you could pop in a GD-ROM in there. Oh, sorry, no. To run your CDR-based backups. So if you have a backup of your GD-ROM, this will play it. Not as impressive, but how many people have a GD-ROM player? So, I did review this emulator on this podcast, one of the first episodes. So go back and listen to that one. I have a lot of great things to say about it, a lot of tips and tricks.
All right. Sorry, I was ordering a ASCII grip controller. Someone on eBay has sold 350 of them new for $9.99, and their feedback's pretty good. So.
Yeah, I don't know if there's warehouses of this stuff because I got a I forget what system it was. It must have been Saturn. I got one of those sticks and another stick, all new.
Yeah.
And a Dreamcast controller, and it seems legit.
Yeah, it's warehouses. I mean, they probably just made too many of these, and there's a Saturn version too. Oh wow. I heard so. All right, so next week on the ASCII Gripcast, we'll be reviewing the Saturn ASCII grip. PDP-11. That's my smooth transition. An entire PDP-11 on your bench. So that's if you want to. What is this?
So, for listeners who aren't this goes past vintage this goes past retro into vintage. PDP is a big refrigerator-size computer from the 60s, and PDP-11, I think, was kind of one of the most popular ones. It's Space War? Was that the name of the first video game ever on this? Anyway, if you click on the links in this Hackaday article, you could get kind of a system-on-a-chip version of the PDP-11 that can hook up into all the peripherals, and there are ways to have miniature version of the peripherals, so you don't need an entire reel-to-reel to have a disk drive, or I guess storage. And it has all the multifunction boards and stuff like that. So essentially, you can have a mini PDP-11 just sitting on your desktop. And then I don't know what you would do with it, but I guess if, this is the Vintage Game Club podcast, then you could play that. But, yeah, I didn't want to pass this one up.
Or you have some government software that you need to run because they haven't upgraded.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. This probably still runs our air traffic control. So, but if any of our listeners have used a PDP-11, definitely write us. Email at retrogameclub.net. I know they have them in a lot of the vintage computer museums. So maybe someone has used one at one of those. But moving on, what do we got next?
Collection of Aladdin and Lion King games for Switch, and I assume other stuff as well. Switch for sure. I didn't. PS4, Xbox, yeah, everything. So this is a disc. Basically, you're getting a collection of ROMs. It's got the Genesis version of Aladdin, the Game Boy version of Aladdin, something called Disney's Aladdin Final Cut, which they don't know what it is. The Disney Aladdin Trade Show Demo. So this is a previously unreleased version. I don't see the Super Nintendo version of Aladdin, which I know some people prefer. And then Lion King, it has Genesis, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy versions.
Which version do you prefer?
I am not huge on any of these games, but I prefer the Genesis version.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the Super Nintendo one plays better, but the Sega one looks better.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everyone's assessment of them.
But it'll be $29, and it's actually going to come out as a cart for the Switch. And this is really good artwork. Kind of a dual Lion King and Aladdin artwork for the box. $29 seems a bit steep, maybe for the cart version, but for a downloadable, that just seems like a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need this one. I don't know if I like these games enough. Now, I because of this article, I almost made Aladdin my Game Club game pick, but I second guessed myself on that one.
So I believe I have the Genesis versions of both of these already. Wait, there's Lion King. I gotta find Aladdin. I'm pretty sure I have both of them though, so that's why I'm not gonna buy it. Like I have them. I have a Genesis. I have, component cables for the Genesis. I can already play these on high definition.
Yeah. But more games coming to those same consoles. The Mega Man Zero collection. So Mega Man 0, 2, 3, 4, ZX Advent.
Yes. So that is a lot of Mega Man games. Now, I've never played any of these. I'll be very blunt.
Yeah. I haven't played any of these either. Game Boy Advance I got when it came out, but then, I was at an age where I was going out almost every night, so I didn't play my Game Boy Advance much or buy many games for it. And the Nintendo DS kind of falls in that same category. So I'm interested to try these out. Admittedly, I might emulate them before buying to see if it's worth it. We shall see. This doesn't come out till 2020, though, so I don't think there's even a price yet for these.
Yeah. So let's see. I think we both may have tried to post this article. Sony is still trying to stop people from hacking the Vita for some reason.
But then, actually not.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Sony keeps updating the firmware. Allegedly, some of the fixes break some hacks, but apparently it's still possibly hackable.
Yeah, they came back and said the original hack still works. If you want to install like RetroArch or homebrew stuff, it still works. But why? I mean, if the system is dead, what are they doing?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why they're still updating the system. I'm a little confused with that too, but who knows?
That's about it for that article.
This one's pretty cool. 50 fun projects for your 8-bit Atari computer. So this is actually, I think this is articles from a site. So there's a website called Atari Projects, atariprojects.org, which is a fun site to follow. So every day they just post different things you can do on your Atari computer. And some of it is just not even stuff you necessarily have to, some of it isn't necessarily stuff you do on the computer, but it's about hey, here's this speech that so-and-so at Atari gave at a presentation, and here's some sample basic programs from this magazine. Stuff like that. Oh, they have the Micro Adventure books in here. Yeah, so I have a couple of these. Micro Adventure was a choose your own adventure book that also included source code, small basic programs that you would use to solve puzzles inside the choose your own adventure books. I don't know if you've ever done any of those.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll convert them to Java, where there'll be 4,000 lines of code and require huge libraries and frameworks to run.
Or even better, Unreal Engine.
Yeah. Or just make it JavaScript, and then it's you have to do an npm install of 700 libraries.
Yes.
To do anything.
Only programmers are laughing right now.
Yeah, right.
Oh, and
you gotta have React. How can you build this 5-line JavaScript program without React?
Yeah. if you guys can hear screaming, I think my kid is body slamming his stuffed animals in the room above me.
No,
So
okay,
sorry.
that's fine. It happens. So yeah, so this is a book you can get of, which I believe is, like I said, articles, I think mostly from the site, but it's 50 projects, and, it's an on-demand print thing, so, you're supporting, you're supporting kind of a cool little independent site.
And and it's not like it's not going to happen. Like, you will get your book. It's not like it's Indiegogo.
Yeah, well, it's not, on-demand printing. Like, you're...
But this also said it has also projects for newer technologies such as flash memory and emulators and stuff like that. So even if you don't own an 8-bit Atari, you can gain a lot from this if you have any interest at all.
Portable Dreamcast project. This is another Hackaday. So it's pretty. This is not something I can do or almost anybody else, but it's essentially hacking the Dreamcast into something that's about the size of the Nintendo 2DS.
Yeah, and you have to like cut your motherboard in half, and wherever those leads were that you cut, you have to solder a cable from one end to the other and complete that connection. And not going to do this.
No, it's very neat, but portable Dreamcast would be an awesome system. Obviously without the disc.
Yeah,
I don't see Sega making one though. And then the article that we can't remember if we did previously, that is the Kung Fu Master port to Amiga. We may have talked about this in our last episode too.
Yeah, it just seemed familiar, but someone's porting this to Amiga.
I don't think we talked. For some other reason, we talked about Kung Fu last week.
Maybe because Ninja Warriors was a lot like it.
That's probably it. Yeah, I think I was complaining about my dislike of the Kung Fu games.
I'm shocked though that this wasn't on Amiga, because it was literally on every other system.
Yeah.
And apparently it is in Blitz Basic, which was originally released in 1984. So I don't know. I've never heard of Blitz Basic.
I've heard of it, but I'm not familiar with it. Last one here is, I think most people probably have heard this one. Incredibly rare 1980s Konami game found and uploaded.
Yeah, have you... So, this Konami game used a QT adapter, which was an adapter for some reason for some games that were made for
mostly
school kids
games.
And oil companies.
Yeah, it's mostly for like education or like training kind of things. And this has the look of an educational game. So it's kind of neat. I don't think I will ever play it. I do like that the person who ripped it and downloaded it pixelated their face for the videos.
I did not see that.
In case Nintendo is sending a team of assassins for him.
In classic Nintendo style. But yeah, this is something, I mean, it's complete, it's incredibly rare, but is it worth a lot of money? You know what I mean? It's cool it's being preserved, but if you try to put this on eBay, I don't think you're going to get a lot.
Yeah, it's at this point I have no idea what how prices are determined on eBay.
But that is the news.
All right, so feature topic or thing of the episode.
Yes, so we are trying to think of one this week.
We should probably have titles for segments.
No, we can't.
Okay.
We can never... The feature this week is TurboGrafx-16 US Launch. It happened August 29th, 1989. So it's 30.
30 years ago,
we're all getting really old. So, yeah. I don't know if you want to...
Yeah, I mean...
Which order you want to dive in?
It was sort of interesting. Like, I mean, I don't remember it being a big launch because I think console launches were, in the 80s and 90s, not quite what they are today. I remember first hearing about it just through magazines. Here's this new system that's coming out, or probably maybe was already out at the time. And it was about these upcoming 16-bit systems. So there was the TurboGrafx and the Genesis. This was like the next era of console wars. Only the TurboGrafx didn't really last that long in this console war, I guess. But that was my first very first viewing, if you will, of the TurboGrafx was in magazines, and they would focus a lot on like legendary acts for some reason. Like that was the game they were kind of promoting as this is the next big thing, right? And it's funny because Legendary Axe, I think, of all the launch games, it's maybe in the middle of the pack overall. When you look at the other games that came out around the time of the launch, we're not going to go through and like try and pinpoint like here are the exact games that launched exactly on August 29th, blah blah blah, because I don't think history is quite that precise. I mean, there were launch titles, but then what you actually saw in stores varied quite a bit. And this came up on like the Atari Jaguar Game by Game podcast. This was Dino Dudes a launch game, right? I think like technically Dino Dudes was a launch game for the Jaguar, but I don't know if every store got it at launch, if that makes sense.
And also, this was a company other than your TV set or record player you never really heard of.
Or your wait, did they make the PDP-11 also? No, that was DEC, not NEC.
That was DEC, yeah.
Yeah.
So one letter off, yeah. So I don't think people were lining up at stores for launch day. So the games in our show notes all came out before January 1st, 1990. One thing, so yeah, this came out in 89. One thing I really want to note is Sonic the Hedgehog didn't come out till 91. Right. So we had a year or two, with these games where really Genesis and TurboGrafx were on the same playing field in terms of big titles.
Yeah, and also, so I'd say like Christmas 89 probably was still largely dominated by the NES.
Oh, yeah. Easily.
Even with these two new systems, because the NES was... these came out at a time when the NES was still putting out some of its best games, and because there was this long delay between when Japanese games came out to America, like we had just backlogs of great games still to be imported. And like, what was it, $200 or so for the system at launch? Yeah, that's, in hindsight, I know there's sites that adjust for inflation and all that stuff, but yeah, that's actually a pretty good deal for a new system at launch.
Totally, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you walked into a video game store in 1989, it was essentially like Nintendo was the dominant system. Game Boy was probably the hottest item of Christmas that year. And then you had maybe a couple shelves of Master System games, and then some little spot dedicated to, hey, here are these new 16-bit systems. And that was really, the early adopters or people who had like, divorced parents that were overcompensating.
Yeah. But, I mean, $50 games, not too bad. The CD-ROM peripheral, I can't say that word, came out at about $400. The Turbo Booster, which was the peripheral for the back that gave you video and right and left audio out, was about $40.
Yeah.
And then eventually the Turbo Duo came out for $300.
Right, which had the Turbo Booster.
And the CD.
Built it. Yeah, so the Turbo Booster was, I like the description, turn your game into broadcast quality event with the accessory that hooks into your stereo system or stereo TV.
Yeah. And then also it had RAM built in, so you didn't have to use passcodes. You could actually save. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a precursor to what you'd see other systems do, which is, we'll sell you the base unit cheap, but then, you want to save your game? Well, that's extra money. Or, you want HDMI cables? Well, that's more like... I mean, now HDMI standard, but there was a while there where, systems... I think the Wii still came with just regular RCA hookup, right? Just regular red, yellow, white, not S-Video, just the regular old school hookup. So if you wanted better cables, you were going to pay extra for that. And the prices on some of this stuff, so I'm looking like I have catalog scans from like a year after the system launched. I don't have anything from the launch year. And like the base unit went down about, $40-$50. the CD did not get any cheaper. So that CD was really for like, you have a bunch of money to burn. And the Turbo Booster went down, I don't know, $15 or something. And the other kind of like, I'll get the negative stuff out of the way first. Like the other kind of fleecing thing they did was only include one controller port and then charge you to have multiple players.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. At least give us two.
Yeah. Yeah, that to me is probably a thing that got the system off maybe on the wrong foot with a lot of people, because like people buy game systems to play with friends, right? That's why Fortnite's the most popular game on earth right now. But in 1989 it was you wanted to play sports games or arcade games with your friends, right? And you couldn't do that with the TurboGrafx without buying some extra accessories, right? So I think that definitely hurt the system at launch.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the only games that people would really recognize at launch maybe would be R-Type. And Fighting Street, kinda. I don't know why they changed the name. But again, you would have to buy the CD-ROM for that. Yeah,
well, Fighting Street, I don't think people realized. I don't think I realized that Fighting Street was the prequel to Street Fighter 2 for a long time, and I was like in a game store, right? So like Galaga 90, people heard of Galaga, but yeah, they didn't have like this big third-party lineup yet. They had a lot of I don't say quirky, but games you maybe hadn't heard of, right? I mean, no one had heard of Dungeon Explorer. That's, I think, the best of the pack here of launch titles. And then you had other stuff that was kind of weird. I mean, people who saw China Warrior probably thought, okay, well, the system can make really giant sprites, but why would I want to play this? Like, if you play China Warrior, it's just not a very fun game. It's visually cool, but that's about it. And of the launch lineup, it was kind of like sleeper hits, I feel. Like Dungeon Explorer, great game. One of the best 16-bit games, period, I think. And Motor Rotor was a really surprisingly fun racing game. And, Alien Crush, I know has some fans. Legendary Axe was successful enough to get a sequel. Blazing Lasers, I know, has some pretty strong backers. If you were to do like a Blazing Lasers Kickstarter reboot or something, it would get funded.
Oh yeah.
Victory Run was all right too. I thought that was good. Maybe not as good as like Outrun on Genesis. I mean, that was kind of the problem. Is this was getting launched around the same time as the Genesis, and it had. I feel like it probably had more games at launch, but Genesis had stuff that people recognized more.
Yeah. So when did you get a TurboGrafx?
I did not get one till I'm gonna go either 92 or 93, and I bought the Duo at the time when stuff was being cleared out. The Duo was not being really cleared out; it might have been a little bit cheaper, but the games at that point were all being cleared out. So I figured that was probably a good time to just stockpile CD games. I mean, CD games were $5 a piece in 1993.
Yeah.
Things that people charge ludicrous sums for on eBay now. I mean, they were literally cleared off for $5 a piece. So I'm like, okay, seems like a good time to get a nice stockpile of games. It'll probably take me the rest of my life to play through these games. In some cases, it has. I still have games that I probably bought in 93 or 90. Oh, I definitely have games I bought in 93 or 94 for the CD that I haven't played yet. Yeah. Thinking like JB Harold Murder Club or whatever it's called. I think I started it and said, oh, this game is way bigger than I expected, so I didn't. I have to go back to it some other time when I can actually dedicate time to playing it. And it was probably about then. Yeah, so I had the Duo, and that became for like the next 3-4 years. That was kind of my primary system because I had so many like weird and cool RPGs on it. Obviously, East 1 through 3, which more action RPG than RPG, but played those a lot. Played First Legend of Heroes a lot. Played Cosmic Fantasy, that kind of stuff. Those were kind of my, that was a couple years of gaming right there.
I was one of the weird kids that had it in high school. So I didn't get it at launch. When I got it, it came with Keith Courage Alpha Zone, which I like more than most people. That that was another Game Club contender this episode. I got it with Bonk and Devil Crush. Both incredible games, but none of them really launch games. R-Type I got soon after, which is an incredible port. Probably the best port of it at its time, at least. Galaga 90, one of my all-time favorite games. And then I saved up mowing lawns and stuff like that for the Super CD-ROM or CD-ROM 2, whatever it's called, which was also my first CD player. So, okay. So the day I bought that, I also bought Use Your Illusion 2 by Guns N' Roses and Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure soundtrack. Those were my first 2 CDs.
All right.
Yes. Questionable of taste for the time, but again, pre-grunge. What game did I got? East 1 and 2 and Monster Lair. Which Monster Lair to this day still has an incredible soundtrack.
It does, yeah. I was not a big Monster Lair fan. This is a game I imported because I did not get this on clearance back in the day, but found you can get the Japanese version for under $10. So I imported that, and it's just not my thing. I don't know.
I like that game a lot, and I also have a vivid memory with one of my buddies that listens to this podcast going into electronic boutiques in the Detroit area, and just looking to see, just browsing. Maybe I'll buy a video game. The only game they still had left in stock at that time, so this was probably 94-ish, was Cotton. And they had about 5 copies in stock. And, the guy was like, we got this game Cotton. And I laughed. Yeah, I never heard of it. I laughed and pretty much said, no thanks, dude. But what I should have said is, one day this game will be worth so much money, I will buy all of them from you right now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's how these games become rare, right? Like, the things, if you buy something in anticipation of you're going to cash out on it one day, that's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. It's the stuff nobody thought to buy and stockpile.
Yeah. But then later, when they started blowing out the Turbo Duo, I did upgrade to that, and I did get a lot of clearance games. I mean, I had a giant stack of HuCard and CD-ROM 2, however you pronounce it, Super CD games. Just a huge stack that I got most of them at a great price, new, and not like they were really old. It was just like, kind of like, when the Dreamcast went out, the game still felt all new, but they were just really cheap and in bins for $5. And and I remember, again, I wrote your old podcast about this. I forget what your question of the week was, but I offered to a buddy, or a friend of a friend, like, I will take your new PlayStation that just came out and you only played once and you have all these new games, and I will give you my Turbo Duo and all my games with it. I thought that was a good deal.
Yeah.
And for maybe about a year or two, it still felt like a good deal because I had this new system with really new great games, and bad move. But do you still play your TurboGrafx?
Yeah, time to time. I mean, I just played Dungeon Explorer 2 a few days ago. So I a few years ago was possibly the only guide to the game Dungeon Explorer 2 on the internet. There might be a FAQ or something, but I did like maps of all the dungeons and stuff. And the thing about Dungeon Explorer 2 is there's like hidden characters. And then after you unlock the hidden characters, each of the hidden characters has like an upgrade. So like in the main game, the main cast of characters all have, there's a like halfway through the game or 3/4 of the way through the game, they all get upgraded. Like they get a class upgrade, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So like the fighter becomes a knight or whatever. Mm-hmm. And the hidden characters each have an upgrade too, but it involves like backtracking to some seemingly random part of the game and talking to someone. And in the guide, I had like all the character upgrades, except I was like missing one for this one character that's terrible, and I hated playing as, because his stats are terrible. It's just not, it's just
Not fun.
not enjoyable to play. And just out of the blue, someone emailed me and said, "Oh yeah, me and a buddy are trying to play through Dungeon Explorer 2, and wondering if you've ever found the upgrade for this character." I'm like, "No, I didn't, but you know what? I'll go look again."
Well, hopefully you still had your save.
Well, no, because when you find a hidden character, the way it works is when you find the hidden character, they give you a password, and then you enter that password and you start playing as them. So I use that password. I'm like, I bet I have to backtrack to somewhere. And turns out I didn't have to backtrack. I just had to like play close to the end of the game, not close to the end, but pretty far into the game to find this character's upgrade, which was painful because he's a very awful character to play as.
Yeah.
With the upgrade, he's still not any better. Like, I don't know why anyone would choose to use him. So yeah, it's still like Dungeon Explorer 2 is when I go back to. At some point, I mean, like, if there were more CD translations, I would probably play it a little more, because there's a lot of untranslated CD games. I realize, like, I could start the ROM hacking project, I guess, on some of them. I don't know how I would do it. Like, I would have to get the Japanese text and then run it through Google Translate and then try and make sense of it. I guess I could do that. I got like 100 other projects I'd rather do first.
Well, RetroArch now.
Well, yeah, that's what that's why I'm very interested in that, because maybe that's a good option now.
This feels like a show topic.
Yeah, I feel like I should take a game I already know how to play, like Ys 4 or something, and then put that through RetroArch and see how it or I know Ys 1 and 2 better, I guess. Put those in and see how that actually works.
Yeah, but with Ys 4, there's a lot of talking dialogue that doesn't have the.
Yeah, that's why I like Ys 1 and 2 is better, because I know the spoken dialogue. I know I know what that scene means. I know how to get through the game at this point.
But I mean, I have very vivid memories of TurboGrafx-16. Yeah, it was my system growing up. I was the weird person that had it. I can't believe it's 30 years old, but yeah, that happens. But if any of you listening had a TurboGrafx, have memories of it, especially the very 90s, even though it was 89, commercials that they had on TV, you could see on YouTube now. We have them in our show notes. Yeah, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. I don't think I have any really closing thoughts on this topic, other than there are so many games that if you haven't played TurboGrafx-16, you are missing out.
Yeah. Yeah, I should sort of cross-check. How many of these launch games are on that new Mini?
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, we probably should have included that. That would have been a good thing to think of. So, let's see here. Final lineup, which then they added a bunch of games to. The Galaga, Dungeon Explorer, Alien Crush, Blazing Lasers. JJ and Jeff was not a launch game, was it? No, it was just really close to it. Motor Rotor. Ninja Spirit was actually like a first-year game, but that was not a launch title. R-Type, and Victory Run. So you're missing out on some of the games that are not included from the launch are games you aren't going to miss too much. So that's fine.
Yeah, like I never need to play Vigilante ever again.
Yes, neither do I. And like Power Golf, I can live without. Oh, Power Golf's on there. Never mind. World Class Baseball and World Class Tennis you would be missing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say missing.
Well, they're not on the Mini.
So, Game Club, the reason why we're all here.
Yeah.
The title of the show. Let's start with yours.
Yeah, it's funny. I didn't actually play mine a ton because I picked Bully because I figured it was a good back to school game. Now I still have a save game of it at the end. So at the end it goes into what they call Endless Summer mode. So the kind of neat thing about Bully that I went back and watched a speed run of it. because I thought it was easier than me playing through the game again and less time consuming because it's got speed there in the title, so it's faster. And I forgot how cool it was how the seasons changed throughout the game. The game's kind of divided into multiple chapters based on time of year. So you start off, it's the fall, and then it kind of goes into a Halloween season and a Christmas season and spring break, and so, you know, they're spring themed. And it's pretty cool. Like the whole scenery changes, the events change, you know, the whole world kind of changes as the year progresses. And then, yeah, after you complete the game, it unlocks, you know, Endless Summer, where you can just go do all the side quests. Like it just becomes total, do whatever you feel like. Go to the carnival and play arcade games. Go do all the bike races if you haven't done them yet. There's some way to unlock a go-kart, which I never figured out. You know, just go do all the side stuff. So that part's kind of cool to mess around, just, you know, to remember like the mechanics and, you know, how the game plays. But overall, like, yeah, I would say like the seasons and kind of like I said, it's a Grand Theft Auto style game, but maybe a lot less violent because there aren't guns, despite what people said about the game when it came out. And then it's very story driven. Like there is a central story. There's a lot of side quests. You're not time boxed, even though like it takes place over seasons. It's not like Shenmue where there's a calendar, and if you don't complete the game by a certain day, it's game over. You know, you can kind of go through, and if you want to stay in the Halloween world for a month, you can do that. Like it's totally fine. You know, and then there's like so many, I forgot also watching it, like how many side games there are, because there's all the classes, right? And all the classes are essentially mini games. Some of them are rhythm-based games, and I kind of did not like those. And then others are like playing, was it Quicks or Kicks, however you pronounce it? You know, there's just side games that are based kind of on old arcade games that are fun. So there's an awful lot to do, and again, it's a game I pretty highly recommend.
So, not me. Admittedly, so I'd never played this game before. I remember the commercials for it and thinking, you know, I want that game because I was such a big GTA fan back in the day.
Yeah.
And but I just never got it for whatever reason, money or whatever. And so this is the first time I played it. I thought I bought it on Steam, but I actually bought it on PS4. It was the same price. I only played it for about an hour and a half, admittedly, because it put me in a rotten mood. All these kids, no one liked me, and I was also a bully, and like I didn't feel like I didn't want to be that character. You know what I mean? And I thought the gameplay was fine. I thought the fighting was actually kind of fun, but kind of the premise of it it left a sour taste in my mouth where I just thought, like, this doesn't make me feel right. And yeah, and I think my only complaint on the gameplay was and I forget if maybe you'll remember if like Vice City was like this, but when you turn, like if you want to do a 180, instead of doing a 180, you kind of do this kind of loop turn thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I don't remember Vice City being like that. It might have been.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, you're probably spoiled from like playing Breath of the Wild, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And that kind of tripped me up, but it was just the character. I was just like, I don't want to be this person. So
yeah, I hear that. I mean, the whole thing about like everyone at school hating you, like that's part of the like storyline, is you eventually are trying to, you know, unify these different cliques at the school, and you know, become, you know, on good terms with everyone. And it kind of goes through the motions. I mean, at some point as the game, you know, progresses, you make friends with a lot of people, and then it all falls apart, and you kind of have to, you know, save the day, if you will, by dealing with like, so there's sort of like one kid at the school who is like a complete psychopath. And the story sort of revolves around him kind of constantly sabotaging your life and making everyone else at the school miserable. And the last boss battle is with the psychopath kid.
There was I don't know why I was just reminded about this, but at least on PlayStation 4, you tap X over and over again. I think it was the same as attack, but I forget, to run. But I was near a little kid hitting the button, and I accidentally punched him.
Uh-oh.
And that's like a no-no in the game.
Yeah.
And which I was glad, but that's when I was like, I didn't even mean to punch him, and all these people are attacking me. And yeah, I could see why someone could really get into it. I think maybe it was just the wrong time of day or something I was playing it.
Could be, yeah. I mean, you kind of have to be in the mood to take on something as large as Bully.
Yeah, but I at least gave it a try, at least at first, for a good hour and a half.
Yeah, and once eventually you can leave the school, and you can actually get various places to crash in town, so you actually are living outside of the school. So the game opens up quite a bit. I mean, it's a little confining at first because you can't leave the campus.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. So I'm glad you said that. But yeah, any closing thoughts on Bully?
No, I mean, like I said, I mean, I think if you like the GTA games, you'll ultimately like it. If you like the PS2 era GTA games, at least, I think ultimately you will end up liking it. But I mean, I get some of the issues you have with it.
Yeah, had I spent more time with it, I probably would have gotten past that. That feeling, that negative feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of a dark tone game. I mean, every kid in the game is pretty awful to you.
yeah, and you're kind of snotty, and yeah.
Yeah, but the game at least establishes that you're coming from kind of like a bad house. So I can kind of take, the lead character being kind of a jerk, with a grain of salt, because okay, yeah, his life kind of sucks, and his mom has a boyfriend that doesn't like him, so she's dumping him off at a boarding school.
Yeah. Again, it's kind of a downer.
Yeah. As opposed to the normally chipper Rockstar games.
Exactly. Yeah. Which, yeah, since this is family friendly, I won't get too into. But yeah, good point. But yeah, that game actually is family friendly though. Bully. It got way more criticism than it should have.
Oh yeah. It's the least adult of the Rockstar games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's 1% the violence of Manhunt.
I mean, my game of the week was probably almost as violent.
Yeah.
So I chose Burgertime. A classic by Data East, and when was this originally released? 1982 in the arcade, and ported to lots of system, mostly the 8-bit systems, not really anything 16-bit. This playthrough I did some of the arcade, and a lot of the NES version, which was a great port. Definitely different, but not in a bad way. This time around, I discovered the Game Boy version, which was completely different, but what a great game. It was called Burgertime Deluxe. What a great game. So if somehow you're listening to this podcast and you haven't heard of Burgertime, you run around as, what's his name? Peter Pepper. And it's a kind of shoots and ladders type game. Well, I guess just ladders and platforms. And there are the parts of a burger. So burger, lettuce, buns, all in different levels. And as you walk over them, they fall. And you're chased by an egg and a sausage. And what else chases you?
A pickle.
A pickle, yep. Pickle slice, right?
Pickle slice, yeah. Not a whole pickle. Yeah. That would be also intimidating. But no, this is just various pickle slices.
Yes. And if you're caught in a corner, you have a few peppers. You could throw a pepper in their face, pretty violent, and they will sit there and sneeze for a minute, and you could get by them. And this is not an easy game. I think it's pretty fun. It does get frustrating when you run out of pepper, but great gameplay. I think great replayability. I'm not fantastic at this game, but I can hold my own. Strangely enough, I think other than I'll recommend, the arcade and the NES version, but I highly recommend the Game Boy version. I mean, it's probably the cheapest out of all of them. I mean, especially against the arcade version. And the levels were great. The graphics were great. It was just its own thing. I played the Atari 2600 port, and wow, they did not try at all. The egg and the lettuce, or the egg and the pickle, are just
random blurs.
I don't know. Yeah, they're blurs. It really strange. Which, if you look at the Intellivision version, which has about the same horsepower as a 2600.
A little more horsepower, I think.
But not enough to warrant how much better it is. And then I watched a video of the Apple II version, and it looks like Lode Runner.
Yes.
Looks very playable, but, definitely different. What's your experience with Burgertime?
Yeah, so I first played it I saw it in the arcade, but I first played it on Intellivision. And that's a good version. I mean, I think it's a pretty good version, and the difficulty is a little more balanced than the arcade version. You can actually play the Intellivision version for quite a while. And honestly, I think it looks... I still think it's a pretty amazing looking game for its time.
Yeah.
So that was the one I pretty much, got used to the game on. Later on, I probably had some other home ports. I don't think I ever owned I don't think I really owned a port for any other system. I have an Atari port now, of course, but otherwise I would have played it on MAME or on the Data East, from the Data East collections that it's on.
Yeah.
And the arcade version, and I played the MAME version this week. The arcade version is just so much harder than the home versions. It's just...
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I need to change some... I don't know what, clearly it's meant to kill you very quickly because it's an arcade game. Maybe there's some tricks to learning the AI or the patterns that make it easier.
So, I watched a high score playthrough of it on Twitch.
Okay.
And this guy just slowly moved up and down this ladder until he eventually got all the villains that are chasing you to be almost on top of each other.
Okay.
And then he just had them all walk on top of, a piece of lettuce or something that he dropped them from. And so they all died at the same time. And I guess that's how you get a lot of points.
So you get a lot of points, but I would imagine to clear the levels, the best strategy is to try and get everything following you in a pattern, right? And you can just kind of walk across the board, I guess. I don't know. I've never been, like I said, I'm not very good at the game. So I do find it's weird that you get pepper from coffee cups. That's always been a thing about the game that I thought was funny.
Yeah, well, and also an egg. I know it's been trendy for 20 years now to put an egg on your burger, but back then, in the 80s, did people hear about putting eggs on their burgers? Was that a thing?
No, I'd never heard of that. I never heard of putting a hot dog on a burger either, though. So,
true, yeah. So, and by the way, their name is, what is it? Mr. Lettuce, Mr. Pickle, Mr. Egg, Mr. Hot Dog. Yeah, sorry. Their names are Mr. Hot Dog, Mr. Pickle, and Mr. Egg. Yeah. I'm looking at Wikipedia right now. Apparently there is a sequel.
Yeah, called Diner, which I have. It's kind of a rare Intellivision game because it was a fairly late release.
Huh. Well, there's also Super Burgertime.
Oh, yeah. You mean the real sequels, not the He-Man game that was converted to Burgertime when the Intellivision people lost the He-Man license.
Yeah, that's funny. I did not know that. And Peter Pepper's Ice Cream Factory is another spin-off. That was an official spin-off. But there are many clones of this. So Mr. Wimpy, Burger Chase, Burger Space, Chip Factory, and Burger Boy. And a few others. But I always think clones are fun because it's almost like probably a demo someone made just to teach themselves how to program. But yeah, I really enjoy this one. I hope our listeners did too. It's funny. I always feel guilty when I'm not into the game that you chose.
Oh, it's all right. Yeah, well, I mean, people like different games, so it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also have this nice little My Arcade version of Burgertime, which is plays something that resembles an NES game more than an arcade game, but it's a pretty good version.
Yeah, I saw that in the store the other day. I should have picked one of those. I don't have any of those.
Yeah, you gotta, as again, if anyone makes a drinking game out of the show, me going to the clearance section of Target would be one of the things you should drink for. And these were all like Target clearance items. Like, maybe they're still full price some places, I don't know, but they were like on clearance and cheap there.
Yeah, I think they even sell those at like Walgreens and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're like full price. I see these. I was at my wife had to like get some massive thing printed, so we went to the Kinko's. I know it's not called Kinko's anymore; it's some other name now.
FedEx.
Yeah, and they have like a section of toys there, and they have them there for like $35 or whatever the full price is at Kinko's. So I guess while you're waiting around, you're like, I'm gonna buy Burger Time. Well, I'm just waiting for stuff to print.
But yeah, no real closing thoughts other than let's see, high scores. You could get 9 million for a pretty much perfect game according to Twin Galaxies. Yeah. Oh no, there's an 11.5 million high score in 2008. Yeah, I will never be beating that high score. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, I still have a hard time trusting anything out of Twin Galaxies,
Well, I think this is the one that I watched on Twitch. Oh, no, it was the 8 million one that I watched on Twitch. That's right. So all these are in Wikipedia that I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have some listener feedback about these. Let's see. So there were a few questions that Zach, thank you, Zach, running the Facebook page asked, in case any of these come up in our feedback. And his question was, what eatery did you play arcade games in? And he thought about that because of Burgertime.
Oh, okay.
It's food, and it was in a lot of burger joints, And Luke answers that he was born in 94 and have plenty memories at playing games in his local pizzeria. It was usually the Pac-Man or Galaga.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that was the combined one.
Yeah, it'd be like the reproduction systems. Yeah,
pizza and arcade games go hand in hand.
Yeah, 94. Yeah, I'd been dating my wife like a year by then. All right. Zach writes, hey, people of all ages can enjoy retro games. That's my view. Zach, in the 1980s, his family went to local Pizza Hut a lot. Doesn't know why they liked the greasy pizza, but why not? I'll just chime in for a minute. Like, I once lived in a small town where, like, Pizza Hut was the fancy night out. Like, that was high class. That was, like, the best restaurant for 45 minutes. So, anyhow, Zach writes that there was a Pac-Land cabinet there. His parents would never give him money to play it, so he would watch other kids and be jealous. He remembers seeing one kid doing a level skip by pushing on a tree stump, and that blew his mind at the time. And he had never seen a level skip before because he hadn't seen Super Mario Brothers yet. So, and then for years, he would occasionally think about the game and how badly he wanted to play it. As an adult with his own money, he did eventually get to play it and was disappointed because, as we discussed, it has not aged particularly well.
I'm interested in why his parents wouldn't let him play. I don't know if it was like a money thing, like we don't have any quarters or don't want to spend money on you riding your brain on those games, or if it was, can you just sit with your family and eat?
It could have been some. It could have been, all the above.
I mean, I have pretty loving parents, but when we went to a place with arcade games, they'd be like, here's $1 or $2, go away for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a variety of reasons. Maybe there were clearly it wasn't about you have to sit with the family, because he was allowed to go watch other people play.
Good point.
So maybe, I don't know. It's an interesting story. We have to figure that one out.
Yeah.
Maybe they just thought it was a waste. A lot of people just thought it was a waste of money. You'd rather throw a quarter in the gutter,
Yeah, true. Yeah. But Rob writes, and this is not me, I did not write our own podcast, which I might.
Good, yeah.
But he has his own question here, unless Zach asked another one. Has there ever been a moment in gaming history that make you realize you have to ease up on gaming and just need to take a break? And his story is he was playing XCOM UFO Defense during high school on the original PlayStation, and he had a big, homework load, and he had to study for tests and stuff like that. And at that time, he was save scumming his way through this game, and he had been doing it so much that he thought I don't really have to study for this test because I could just replay and start over and then take the test over again. And that's when he decided it might be time to take a little break.
Yeah. When you think you can reset in real life, you've probably been playing a little bit too long. I mean, I took a fairly long break in the 90s for basically the PlayStation era, from fall 96 to basically January 2000. I didn't play a lot of games, and that's because I was really trying to focus on finishing college, and it was the 90s, so you could get a job as a programmer. In 1996, if you want to get a job as a programmer, you just had to walk into the office, and they'd point at a computer, and they say, "Do you know what that is?" And then you would say, "Pewter," and then you'd be hired as a programmer. So at that point, I was really focused on school and trying to have an actual career as a programmer rather than a career as a minimum wage worker. So I did not play a lot of games, very, very few games during that time. And it really wasn't until I was, done with college and, more, career kind of on track that I got back into gaming.
Yeah, for me, I had a similar kind of 96-ish through probably 97 for me, through 2000 to 2002 maybe, where I was going to college, but I wouldn't say I was going to college. I was kind of partying a lot, and in bands and music and stuff like that, and so I took a break from it, but only because I just wasn't playing many video games. But I forget which Vice City it was, but I would start driving my car. If I played that game for a long time, I would start driving my car a little bit differently, and I really had to check myself on that one. Not violently, just faster, and yeah, where you're walking down the street and you think oh, I could just hop in that random car that's parked. Definitely had those thoughts, and again, nothing malicious. It was just in those games you just kind of take cars, and I definitely had that experience. And I think that was all the feedback this week.
Yeah. So you want to talk about what games? Oh, first of all, if people want to email to talk about anything we've talked about on the show, how do they do that?
Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. And I think the listener feedback's my favorite part. even though it's the part I'm the worst at. So please don't let that discourage you. And also, I think traded some messages with Zach, and he's going to start asking a few more questions on Facebook, kind of keep the conversation going, because that's really what this is all about, you know? But yeah, new Game Club games. I'm going with Alien Crush because I wanted to pick something from the original, the launch titles from TurboGrafx.
Okay. I'm going with a game I'm actually playing right now. I started playing it this weekend, and I may continue playing it for another week, or I may get frustrated with it. And that is Secret of Mana, or Mana. I always call it Mana, which is probably incorrect. But Secret of Mana, Super Nintendo game. And there's a bunch of remakes, too.
Are you playing the original?
I'm playing it, on the Super Nintendo Classic. Although I think I own a cartridge of this, too. I probably could just play it on Super Nintendo.
Because I think they just remade it or something like that, too.
And some people, I know the remake got some bad feedback. And now, from playing it again on the Super Nintendo, I'm beginning to wonder if, like, the feedback is bad or people are just now realizing it's not that, like, there's some frustrating things in the game. So I'll talk about more next episode. But it's a game I started like years and years ago. I mean, it's something I got at like Funko. I mean, literally, I got at Funko Land for $5 or something back in the day. Started it, did not really get into it, and got rid of it, and then probably picked it up again, at a yard sale. I'm pretty sure I have a box copy somewhere here. So. I said, you know what? I'm going to try this again. Maybe I just didn't give it a fair shake the first time. Maybe I had a lot going on, whatever. Maybe I just wasn't in the mood for it. So I started it over, and we'll see if I get through. There's some things about the game I like a lot, and some things I don't like a lot. So the music, of course, is great. But we'll talk about it next time.
Yeah. And so if any listeners play those games with us, or really any retro games, please email us at email@retrogameclub.net. And if you'd even like to, is that, like I said, Zach may ask another question on Facebook. This week Luke also asked, if you were ever gaming and you just realized you needed to ease up and take a break.
No,
feel free to
not Luke.
answer that one too.
Yes, actually, that was the Rob. That
was Rob. That was Rob, not Luke.
Because there were a lot of people born in the 1970s. Named Rob.
Yes. And I think that wraps this up, doesn't it?